As we heard in our last segment, the cornerstone of this year's Digital Inclusion Summit is the idea that representation and representational leadership matters. It matters in government, it matters in news media, it matters in entertainment, and it matters at every decision-making table. I have the pleasure of sitting down with former FCC Commissioner Mignon Clyburn as a part of our kitchen table conversations on race, technology, and the future of everything. Mignon is someone who has been blazing trails her entire career and has been doing the work to help create a truly inclusive tech future by showing up, speaking up, and by holding the door open for the next generation of digital inclusion advocates. Mignon Clyburn served as commissioner on the Federal Communications Commission from 2009 to 2018, including a term as acting chairwoman in 2013. During her service, she was committed to closing the digital divide and championed the modernization of the agency's Lifeline program, which assists low-income consumers with voice and broadband service. She championed greater diversity in media ownership, initiated inmate calling service reforms, and fought for an open internet. Mignon, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. You continue to have an impressive career and have become a model for how we can all be more effective advocates for greater inclusion and equity in tech and telecommunications policy. Do you mind sharing a little bit about your background, what got you started on this path, and what fuels your passion for tech and telecommunications policy?
Thanks for having me. I think if you wanted to get a greater understanding of my regulatory DNA, look at my organic or more robustful DNA. I am the eldest of two parents who met during the Civil Rights Movement. They met on campus coming out of jail on the campus of South Carolina State College, now university, in the late 50s. They forged this relationship, and our home was very regularly visited by those from all walks of life who believed in equity and justice, who did not mind risking much, no matter the race, because there were as many non-African Americans in our home than African Americans. They risked it all for a better South Carolina, for a better America. I was that kid, hiding behind the seats, getting found out, because back then a lot of people smoked. So I would get discovered, so to speak, as I was choking on, on the cigarette fumes. But I was listening and learning and absorbing what was going on and why it was going on. And that influenced me and given the opportunity to serve in government, first in South Carolina, then at the FCC. And I recognize how powerful and how much government can do to repair faults, to take care of breaches, and to be that critical backstop for communities that have been on the wrong side of the opportunities divide. So one could say, if I were to look more cosmically, so to speak, that I was made for those moments. But I will say that my upbringing and the people who supported and uplifted me had at their essence the willingness to help others who are not similarly situated and to use your talents to open more doors of opportunity.
When you work on the FCC, they have great programs to help every American participate in our 21st century economy, like the Lifeline program, the E-rate program, their newly established Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. And so I guess a question for you would be, from your vantage point, do these programs go far enough? And what more could Congress or the FCC do to extend the positive impact of these programs so that they reach more people?
On paper, they are incredibly aspirational. The differences are often by interpretation and implementation when it comes to these programs. Take one program that is near and dear to me, the Lifeline program, which has the incredible potential to bridge the communications gap for those who are on the other side of the economic divide. When I was still a member of the commission, one of the things I did surprised a number of people. I asked for the commission to look at itself in the Lifeline program to see if and how it could be reformed. At the time, people were like, "You're wanting to reform and look at and evaluate a program. You're a Democrat." I'm also a person that believes in good governance. And so I think any program, no matter how well-intentioned, should occasionally look at itself and see if it's meeting the needs of the community. So we determined collectively that the Lifeline program needed to be reconstituted, so to speak, for the information age. So we pushed for as a part of that product that broadband should be a part of that supplement, or should be a part of that monthly reimbursement to those companies, to allow that to be a part of a subscriber's future, that it should be a part of the mix when it comes to you deciding exactly what you want, be it mobile or not service. It should not just be voice only, because we do not live in a voice only world.
How would you contrast the regulatory approach of the FCC during President Trump's first term? And as we look to the results of this year's election, what do you think that we can expect in a new Biden-Harris administration?
You probably know I have a political DNA also. And so if I'm a little bit more coy or a little bit more punchy elsewhere, you will either forgive me or understand me. I will approach it by saying this. If you notice my last year and a half or two as an FCC commissioner, I was often on the other side of my colleagues. The majority of my colleagues, I was. I really felt that their DNA was more skewed to big business, not enough in terms of consumer needs and protections, not enough for innovation and competition when it comes to these as scrappy providers who wanted to serve niche communities that needed connectivity the most. And I think I keep going back to the Lifeline and more reforms in E-rate of the schools and libraries programs. And I'm a little more in tune and with the current administration when it comes to the rural health initiatives. A lot of that was built collaboratively. But on the other two, I am severely disappointed because if we were more proactive, the devastation of the pandemic, I think in many parts of this nation would have been more smooth. So, to me, when if I were to forecast, I would say that we're going to be forced to address the needs of those on the wrong side of the telecommunications, technology, and opportunities divide. This pandemic is going to force whoever is inaugurated on the 21st of January, assuming I have the date right, is going to force us to do so, because not doing so is going to be too much more of an economic drain on our economy. So regardless of politics, we're going to be forced to do more in terms of implementation. Not to forecast what I'm going to do in about a week or two. I haven't voted yet. I believe that there is a quicker, more robust path forward with a particular candidate. As close as I will get to the line, I've seen the plans of both campaigns, and I think there is one over the other that speaks to the needs of those on the wrong side of the communications and opportunities divide.
Broadband is fueling a revolution in how and where we work. Charter is delivering reliable, high-speed Spectrum Internet access to more Americans, connecting 1.5 million new homes and businesses in the past 2 years alone, about a third in rural areas, empowering opportunity from coast to coast. Charter is keeping us connected.